Welcome, my horde. Pull up a fresh grave. If you're new here and still breathing, welcome to Dead Skull Genetics. I'm the Trim Reaper. So, this is now the second week after transplant. As I alluded in the last video, that, yep, there were some issues. Nothing that was done from overwatering or anything that I particularly was doing wrong during the transplant. Wasn't even the issue. I actually had a smaller issue than that. So I'm in a living soil setup. With the living soil, I got microbiology in there. I got red wigglers in there to help break down organics and make them bioavailable for any kind of roots. I have cover crops in there. And what I did notice right off the rip is I have cover crop in there, and the cover crop was being really slow to germinate. And typically before I put a plant that I'm planting into those pots, those pots are usually set for a month to a month and a half. So basically what I think I did is that I didn't let the pots kind of even out for all the new amendments that I was putting in. And I transplanted these little girls into a really hot mix. What does that mean? It just means that there was a high concentration of nutrients that were bioavailable, and it was just sitting around the roots. The roots weren't really ready for that kind of a shock. And you know, I should have done what I normally do, which was I should have set the pots. As soon as I got done with my last run, I should have just reset the pots like I normally do, and this wouldn't have been a problem. But say no more, right? Hindsight being 2020 type of deal. I know, right? So we're gonna go into the tent here, and I will explain everything in detail. Here we go, guys. Here we go, and welcome to the Rotting Legion. And the ladies are about, they're a little droopy right now because it's the end of the day, so they're about ready to power down and go to sleep. Anybody that tells you that plants don't sleep, don't notice that their plants droop right before lights out. So they know when it's time to go to sleep. Photo periods, even your autos, they tell you that, oh, you can leave the lights on 24/7 and drive them. They're only going to use so much energy no matter what you do. Yes, you can theoretically leave the lights on indefinitely and nothing will be a problem. But again, it's not going to be a huge issue, right? So let's go ahead, start off in that back right corner there. Here we've got the orange Chem diesel. This one is from Brothers Mendel. As we can see, nice and bushy, very, very happy. This pot here, particularly, whenever it was first getting set to get going, this one had really good cover crop growth right off the bat. So whenever I had initially transplanted in, this little girl probably stunted out for about 2 or 3 days. On this leaf right in front of my finger here, that actually started getting a little bit of like brown spots at the tips, which was showing some nutrient lockout from going into a slightly hot soil. So this pot was probably a week out from being okay to transplant in, and we can see that the plant recovered quite nicely. You can see that the apical Mary is still praying very nicely to the lights right now, where the leaves are up. I'm not so worried when the bigger leaves themselves kind of droop down a little bit, especially when it's right before lights out. Typically, once the lights are out and it goes back to lights on, within 20 minutes or so, all the leaves are standing up, got great osmotic pressure, which means that, these aren't too overly wet. It's not too overly dry. Great overall growth. We can see the covered crop is very vigorous around this one. And I do have a little bit of bleaching on the very tips of the leaves. I had my light, didn't realize that the light had gotten a little close, so I had to lift everything up, and it worked itself out. But let's go ahead and transfer over. And this is the White Widow from Greenhouse Seed Company. And we can see that, we see the difference between just these two. Bam and not so bam, right? What's the difference here? Look at the cover crop. Cover crop still hasn't really like taken off very vigorously at all in this particular pot. And it's starting to take off now. Again, this pot probably needed another 3 weeks before I should have transplanted into it, because it was a little bit of a hot mix there. Nothing horrible and nothing that you have to do anything with. Don't overreact if you see your plant kind of go through transplant shock, or you see some nutrient lockout whenever you putting them into good soil that has good amendments. Now, if it's super, super hot, like still composting kind of hot, you're probably going to kill the plant when it goes into it. But if it's just a little bit hot, not so bad, you'll get a little funkiness with it, and it'll eventually work itself out. We'll go over that with the last plant here. This one here is my Bubba Kush. And the Bubba Kush, much like the White Widow, you can see that the cover crop is starting to really take off now. Which that's showing that this pot is getting a lot better. This plant's got a lot of growth going on, some good side lateral branching starting to really kind of poke its way through. I do know that, being a Bubba Kush, these are known for being short, squatty plants. It's bubble gum crossed with OG Kush, and it causes a nice short, squatty plant that's got great yields off of it with great tastes on this. Very easy plant to grow overall. And this one too, it's like the water, it's not overly watered in this pot in any way, shape, or form. I got great drainage. But you can see these leaves are kind of drooping down. Probably about 2 hours ago, these leaves were all up. So you can tell it's the end of the light cycle. A lot of plants will do that right before they're ready to kind of go to sleep, or they're done absorbing energy for that light cycle. So everything is very nice, vigorously growing. Again, it just stunted out for a little bit. I think it should be a little bit bigger from where it's at, like bushier. But soil was, kind of cooling down a little bit. Now that that's kind of done its thing, everything is starting to kind of take off very, very nicely. And then we come to the Miss Sensitive over here. I'm telling you, this Z StrawberryZ from Greenhouse Seed Company is one of the most sensitive plants I have ever had the pleasure of really growing. And I do call it a pleasure. I do like the challenges. Let's go ahead and zoom in on some of the problem areas that we have here. As we see here, it cannibalized a leaf. It is hard and crunchy. Have I gotten rid of the leaf? I mean, I could sit there. It's still got good structure on there. I can go like this and just take the leaf all the way off the rest of the way. Just what's bad, it went narcotic on those leaves. And is it like an issue so much? I mean, we can see that, it got really brittle, cannibalized itself, got very, very unhappy, including these leaves here. These ones stayed supple, but that shows that it had a nasty nutrient lockout whenever it went into the soil here. And this one did not want to grow any cover crop in here until probably about 4 days ago. It finally started growing cover crop, and then it started growing out of it. But if we look into the very center here, let me see if my camera will zoom in on this. I'm not sure if the apical Mary decided to, how can I put it, top itself in the process. But yeah, these are like deformed leaves coming out that never grew properly. So unfortunately, it looks like it might have topped itself a little bit because of the nutrient lockout. But this is a strawberry or AKA Skittles. I think that was the original nameplate for this. Is crossed with runts, and runts can be a little bit more finicky. So my first time growing a runts of any sort, I'm just finding out that it is a little bit more sensitive. And again, like about an hour ago, these leaves here were standing straight up, straight out, nice and horizontal. So it's just, again, the plant's getting settled down for the night. It's not clawing or anything like that. So, I mean, you can tell that everything is very happy right now. I've made the corrections, or the soil has made the corrections in this process. And what do you do with a plant like this when you start seeing a plant actually start to cannibalize itself because the nutrients aren't available in the soil? They're there, but it's not available for the plant to actually uptake because the plant's not ready for it. It's really nothing you can do. It's going to be a stressor on the plant, and you can try to flush a little bit. Sometimes flushing will help kind of cool down the soil, because you're going to be washing some of the nutrients either out of the top of the substrate going lower, or you're just going to be literally just washing it out of the bottom. And those are two acceptable ways of doing it. And like you can do a heavy flush on your soil, but you're going to be wasting a lot of nutrients in the process. So I usually just, myself, as a sit back and wait kind of guy, let the nutrients kind of work itself out, and let the plant go through the stress. It's survival of the fittest. Z StrawberryZ is one of the strongest medicinal medicines out there. One of them. It's in a top tier. So I mean, and it with a really nice flavor profiles on there. So this would have, a stress like this isn't a make or break it. Will it diminish some yields? Of course, I'm fully aware that it's going to diminish some yields on there, but I've got three other plants here, guys. I'm not worried about it. My other buddy, he's got another 5 plants going, so I'm really not worried about running out of medicine anytime soon. But again, I didn't do anything. I just literally just let it ride. She got unhappy. She worked through it, and you can see all the new growth here is super green and vibrant. It does look like the apical berry is kind of working its way through. I do see some smaller leaves coming out, so it might have just stunted the apical berry dominance on this for a little bit, and it might have a messed up node. It is what it is, right? So, guys, if you guys have any kind of comments or questions about living soil or anything like that, certainly hit me up. I don't consider myself like a quote-unquote expert in living soil. I just do what I know has worked for me outdoors, because I am an outdoor grower. I'm taking everything that I know from outside and I'm bringing it inside. Am I going to be perfect? Nope. I don't think that there's any perfectionist. You're going to do what works for you and your system, and that's all you can do at this point, right? Is just find a system that works great for you. I find like the living soil aspect of things, just because you're mimicking outdoor nature, and I love to have everything as organic and as natural as humanly possible. So with that being said, smash that like button, subscribe, and then again, if you got any comments or questions, infect the comment section down below, and make it thumbs always be green. I'll see you on the next one.